Hello, this is Ken Weller. I'm here with you again to talk a little bit about starting a new business using 3D printers. I will be doing a series of videos. This will be my fourth video. I've already done a few as more or less an introduction to let you know what is coming. What is coming is a series of videos that I'll be doing starting from the very beginning of starting a business, which I am currently doing, that is centered around 3D printers. The business actually started back in December with an idea for a product that I wanted to make. I purchased my first 3D printer and started doing some software design, and after doing that I printed those on the 3D printer that I had, the first one that I had purchased for about $130 or $140 back in December of last year, 2019. Since then I've purchased additional printers. This is one of the printers. This is also another one of the same type. I purchased, got a pretty good deal I think on eBay. I found these printers for approximately $85 each, including shipping. So I purchased several of them and assembled them, and I'm using these printers as my production printers. Now they had to be assembled, and there were a few quirks with them. At that price I didn't complain. I have a pretty good supply of parts and stuff around, was able to come up with what I needed to make them work. So these are actually printers that I have that I'm using to make my parts when I want to make multiple parts. Let's say that a part that I'm making is like this is one of the parts that I make for one of my products. This part has to be made a certain way. I can't make it like this or like this. So when I came up with the idea for a part, I had to design this part on the 3D CAD software so that it could be successfully printed on one of these 3D printers. Now this one, when it prints in this position here. The reason for that is that when you're doing using the software, the 3D software, to design a part, you have to remember the number one most important rule of all is gravity. Gravity, it plays a big role in 3D printing because the whole process is a process of putting down layers of melted filament, real fine layers, and building on those. And as you're building up, you can come up at angles. You can put slots in here, you can put holes in and so forth. But when you get to a certain point, if you want this to come out, you have to go at an angle. If I tried to go up and come straight out, there wouldn't be anything to support the layers of filament, and the stringy filament would just ball up and be a mess. I know that for a fact because I had some parts that I made that mistake on. But it will print at an angle because each time that filament goes out over that ledge, it has just enough of the layer below it to catch and hold it. So it can do an arch or it can do an angle, and that's one of the things you have to do a little bit of trial and error to find out what the limits are when you're printing these parts. So that's one tip that is very important when you're actually drawing the stuff, and I'll be going over that more when I show you the CAD software and show you actually some of the drawings I made and how I made them and came up with the ideas and so forth. This one I had to have some strength. I put this piece in here to add some strength to it. I did this because I needed a more of a surface area there, because it was going to end up looking something like this, and there would be two pieces going together. So a lot of the parts that I made are made of multiple parts that will go together. This one, as you see, it comes apart, and this piece is separate. It can then, when this assembly goes together, it will actually lock itself in and become a single piece made out of 3 different parts. Then there's some holes in here for some additional screws to make it a real permanent part. And if you notice on the bottom, I don't know if you can see or not, but there's some holes across here. That's because this isn't an actual finished part. This is just one of the components that I printed a small portion of it as a test to see if it would work. And I've taken several different times when I would want to make a part and I needed a certain hole size or something. Instead of making the whole part and then finding out that those hole sizes weren't large enough or were too large, it's a lot of trouble to have to go back and take all that time to print that part. It may be a 2-hour and 50-minute part that you're printing. So what I would do is I would just make a little square and put all different size holes in it. I would start out at 1 millimeter, then 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, 1.8, and so on, up to about 3 millimeter. And I would use that printer with that filament on that thickness of part with all those different hole sizes in it. Then I would go to my toolbox and get the screw or the bolt or the shaft that I had intended to go through that hole, and I would find the best hole size for that. Now it may be a 2 millimeter shaft, but I would find out that if I tried to print a 2 millimeter hole, the hole would come out smaller because of expansion in the filament and so forth, and inconsistencies. But I would find out from my printed part that that shaft would fit perfectly in a 2.4 millimeter hole. So in my CAD drawing, I would make that hole for a 2 millimeter shaft. I would actually make the size 2.4 millimeter, and it would come out perfect. So that's a little tip there of taking some parts and taking different sample sizes and finding out what your actual hole size should be to compensate for expanding or shrinking plastic in your printer. So those are just a couple tips. I wanted to keep this video short, trying to give people a little better idea and some tips on 3D printers, and since it is an important part of my business and may be an important part of yours if you follow and start a business of manufacturing a product similar to what I'll be doing. So I hope you'll keep watching, and if you like these videos, or if you see something helpful in them, or if you're thinking about starting a business and the possibility of using 3D printers in that business to manufacture product or generate prototypes, so forth, then keep watching, and we'll be showing you a lot of videos, steps, all different situations all through even to the production line that I'm running right now. So thank you for watching, and if you like these, please subscribe, and we'll see you soon.